I'm going to show you how to smoke a delicious pork belly. And I'm going to teach you how to make it crispy too.
A big thanks to Napoleon Grills for sponsoring this episode.
That's what you need to make crispy pork belly. A proper pork belly. This is a full-size belly from a small pig. Look at it. Loads and loads of meat. And what you're really looking for is a lean piece of pork with loads of meat and a little bit of fat. If you have too much fat, this is going to be a very, very greasy experience. But if you have loads of meat like this pig, it's going to be very, very tasty. The first step, and the very most important step, is to work on the last thing that we're going to do. We're going to do something right now that's going to pay off big in the end. First of all, I'm going to need a large tray. And since this is a metal tray, I'm going to line it with some butcher's paper and some cling film. Cut it down to size, then take out that big roll and make a cling film base. And here comes the trick. This is sea salt, loads of it. And we're going to sprinkle it onto the cling film, spread it out, add a little bit more. Now I'm going to take my pig skin and place it on top of the salt. Dead center, there we go. Press it real good so it connects to the salt. I'm going to put another tray on, press it real firm, then place on a heavy cast iron pan and set it in the fridge. Yeah, this is what it looks like after 2 days. Like pork belly, like nothing ever happened. But the real magic happened at the bottom. Look at that. The salt drew the moisture out of the skin and is now much drier than it ever used to be. So I'm going to take that pork belly off the salt, like that. We're getting rid of the salt. There are little spots where the salt didn't touch it, but you can clearly see the difference. You see the white skin here and then the little bit of red and light skin. This is the skin that's been dried out by the salt, and here's the skin that didn't touch the salt. You can clearly see the difference. This will turn crispy and this won't turn crispy. I'm going to take a piece of paper towel and get rid of all the salt. The skin is now completely dry and feels hard to the touch. The pork belly in itself is now ready. Now we're going to add the rest of the flavors for the recipe. Time to make the delicious PitmasterX barbecue sauce. I'm going to start with a cup of ketchup, a quarter cup of good quality apple juice, a tablespoon of Worcester sauce, half a tablespoon of ground black pepper, a tablespoon of the PitmasterX classic barbecue rub, a tablespoon of honey, 3 tablespoons of cane sugar, and if you want to make the PitmasterX classic barbecue rub yourself, just take 2 tablespoons of salt, a tablespoon of paprika powder, a tablespoon of onion powder, and half a tablespoon of garlic powder. Mix it all up, bring it to a boil, and once you get that syrupy bubble, your sweet apple barbecue sauce is done. I'm going to show you what we're going to do with that barbecue sauce later on, but for now we're going to do something special. We're not just going to take that pork belly and cook it and put a little bit of barbecue sauce on it. Oh, this one is going to be special. I'm going to start with chopping fine 40 grams of parsley. Next up, 3 cloves of fresh garlic, chopped fine as well. And to that I'm going to add 2 kilograms of minced beef, half a cup of breadcrumbs, 2 eggs, and 4 tablespoons of the PitmasterX classic barbecue rub. Of course you can find all of the details on our website. I'm going to mix this up with my hands, and that's how we create the stuffing for our pork belly. This is going to be so tasty, and besides of it making our roast bigger and adding more flavor to the roast, it's also going to be a perfect combination. Because the inside of the pork belly won't be as cooked as the outside of the pork belly due to its sheer size. Now therefore, if you use beef, you don't have to cook it to the same temperatures as you have to cook your pork on. So this is going to be the perfect combination to go with our pork roast. It's time to take out our pork belly, flip it around and fill this up. With a paper towel I'm going to pat the pork meat dry. I'm going to spritz on the sweet apple barbecue sauce and brush it in. And that's going to be a nice first layer of flavor on the pork. It's going to bring some sweetness, it's going to bring a little bit of heat and loads of flavor. Now I'm going to take some of our stuffing and put it in the center of the pork belly. Just going to shape this up. And I'm not sure how much of this I'm going to need yet. It really depends on the size of your pork belly. And in this case, my pork belly is around 4 to 5 kilograms. But the important thing is that we will still be able to roll it up. So I'm going to do a test. We should still be able to connect both ends. And this will do the job. That will work just fine. So now it's time to get out the butcher's twine and tie it up. We're gonna roast that beautiful pork on the Napoleon Prestige Pro 500. Now this is a gas grill, as you can see, and it has a large cooking surface, which we are going to need to cook our roast. And to make sure that we get it right, we're going to put in a tray with a rack first, and then we're going to set up the outside burners, and the heat will now come from both sides, but never direct. The pork goes in on top of the rack with the zipper pointing towards the bottom, because this is the beauty side. We want to keep that looking real nice. Of course, I want to make sure that I cook my pork in the right way, so I'm going to add a thermometer. I'm going to take a wireless version and stick it into my pork. I do want to get it inside the pork meat. I'm not too worried about the beef. If the pork is ready, then the beef will be ready too. And you can already see the difference between the salted pork skin and the part that didn't hit the salt. And it's starting to firm up. The wrinkles are starting to disappear. This is going to be so good. Let's close the lid and check back in a couple of hours. After 4 hours running at a temperature of around 140 degrees Celsius, it looks like this. Well, it's shrunk in size, most definitely. And then the second thing that you notice is, ow, it's hot and it's solid. Look, listen to the skin. I hope that gives an idea of how crunchy and crispy the skin is. That skin has been roasting for a long time, and it went from soft to completely firmed up. You got a couple of ways that crispy pork skin can look. You got the popcorn way and you got this way. Now this is what I want to see. The little white bubbles underneath are telling me that the layers of skin let go of each other. And that's the most important part. You gotta cook the skin all the way through, and you only can achieve it when you dry it out sufficiently and then cook it long enough for it to really fall apart. The core temperature went all the way up to 89 degrees Celsius, which is almost the temperature that you would get for a brisket, which means it's going to be nice and tender. Now, if I let this rest, it's probably going to raise up to 92. That's exactly where we want it. So my suggestion is to take it off now. There we go. What a beauty. Can we take a moment to appreciate how good this looks? I'm just going to slide it sideways. Look at the layers of flavor. Oh, a little bit of juice oozing out. Oh, a little bit. Who am I kidding? This looks freaking delicious, man. Come on. Nice crust. I just want to break a piece off and eat it. Mmm. Look at that. Oh boy. That is so juicy. That is pork at its finest. Of course, we threw a little bit of beef in the mix, but look at this, man. This is so juicy, so tasty. That is the crispiest skin you've ever had. It just has that crunchy bit. But this is also the proof that I wanted to show you guys. Like, there's multiple layers inside the skin. And if you cook it properly, all of them are going to separate and become crunchy, like a crisp. If it's not a light, fluffy like this, it's not digestible. It's going to be maybe crunchy, but you're not going to get the experience of basically what it is. Oh, there we go. Oh, super hot still. Super tasty. Now let's go for a piece of the beef. Oh, I want more of that crispy skin. Oh, that's absolutely my favorite part. If you never had this before, make it. You can never go back. You will never regret that day.